Have you ever seen the look on a narcissist's face when their main source of energy stops reacting? When the empath, quiet, gentle, tolerant, decides to stop bleeding just to feed an emptiness that can never be filled. The game changes, the ground shakes, and the mask begins to fall. This video is a deep, shadowy dive into the invisible turning point. That happens when the empath wakes up from the trance. Here, you'll understand why silence hurts more than words, how the narcissist tries to regain control at any cost, and what happens when a soul that only knew how to love learns how to protect itself. Get ready. Because when the empath strikes back, the narcissist doesn't just lose control, they lose themselves. Like, share, and subscribe now. This might be the awakening someone needs. In the beginning, the empath doesn't know they're in a war. Everything just feels hard. A complicated relationship, a bad phase, that constant feeling of walking on eggshells. They don't see that every word has been carefully chosen, that every compliment came with a hook, that every apology carried a hidden debt. The empath, with an open heart and the desire to heal and love, believes they can help, believes that, with patience, the other will change, believes love can save. But what they don't know is they're being drained, bit by bit, day by day, drop by drop. The narcissist doesn't yell at first. They charm, they rap, they present the perfect version of themselves. And the empath gives in. They give trust, time, body, soul, and story. They give themselves until they realize they are losing themselves. And when that moment arrives, it's subtle. It's not an explosion, it's a deep exhaustion. It's looking in the mirror and asking silently, "Who am I now?" That's the seed of awakening. The empath begins to notice. They apologize for everything. They live in fear of upsetting. They feel guilty even when nothing was their fault. They're always tired, even after rest. And then they begin to observe, and what they see is terrifying. They see conversations always revolve around the other. Their feelings are invalidated. Their reactions are too much, dramatic, too sensitive. They see the narcissist twisting words, changing facts, rewriting stories. They realize they're living in a reality shaped to control them. The empath starts questioning, searching for answers, reading, listening, remembering, and everything clicks. It's painful, but liberating, because the pain of truth always hurts less than the prison of a lie. At that point, the empath begins to change. Not outwardly, not yet, but internally. They stop trying to please, begin to say no even through fear. They stop engaging in conversations that once devoured them. They go quiet, not in submission, but in strategy. And the narcissist feels it, because they don't need words to know they're losing the game. They feel it in the eyes, the posture, the lack of reaction. This is the beginning of the silent war. And the empath doesn't need to scream, they only need to awaken. The narcissist lives off control. Control of the story, control of emotion, control of how others see them. And their best weapon is the mask. The victim mask, the perfect partner mask, the savior mask, or the wounded soul who just needs love. But when the empath wakes up, the mask begins to crack. At first it's subtle, small contradictions, lies exposed, behaviors that don't match words. The empath sees the narcissist from a new angle. The same sentence, repeated 1,000 times, now sounds fake. The charming look now feels unsettling. The "I love you" feels manipulative. The "you made me act like this" shows the poison behind the sweetness. And the narcissist feels the shift. They sense something slipping. The empath is quieter, but more alert. Their reactions no longer come. The guilt no longer works. The game has lost power. So they try to fix the mask, change the tactic, pretend remorse, promise therapy, marriage, a future, or threaten to leave, cry, beg. But the empath now sees what's behind it all. And the more they stay silent, the more the narcissist panics. Because the narcissist's mask depends on validation. And the empath has stopped validating. They observe, analyze, connect the dots. And when they stop feeding the narcissist's role, the illusion collapses. Not through fights, but through presence, through awareness, through boundaries. And then something rare happens. The narcissist reveals themselves. The true face appears, cold, controlling, calculating, or in some cases unraveling, desperate, unhinged. For a moment, the empath sees what was always there, hiding under layers of charm and manipulation. And they never see the narcissist the same way again. The illusion begins to die, and with it, the narcissist's power. The empath always tried to talk, to explain, to bring peace, tried to fix, avoid conflict. But they didn't know something yet, something powerful, something terrifying, something liberating. Silence, not the silence of fear, but the silence of awareness, of emotional maturity, of an internal rupture. When the empath stops responding to attacks, the narcissist feels it like an explosion, because any reaction is fuel. Crying, defending, arguing, it all feeds the cycle. But silence cuts the supply. It's like turning off the stage mid-performance, and the star, used to performing alone, is left in the dark. The empath doesn't respond, doesn't explain, doesn't beg, doesn't blame. They just watch, breathe, and choose not to play. That silence is not absence. It's absolute presence. It's emotional mastery. It's power. And it terrifies the narcissist. Because without a stage, an audience, or control, they don't know who they are. The absence of reaction disables their traps. The narcissist tries again, provoking, blaming, twisting, and the empath? Still silent, untouchable. And that's when the narcissist realizes they've lost the narrative. They feel locked out, and panic sets in. They swing from seduction to rage, from begging to blaming, but the empath holds their ground. That silence is not emptiness. It's strength, healing, freedom. The narcissist, sensing their grip fading, strikes back, not with fists, but with calculated gestures, subtle guilt trips, recycled promises. They no longer control the empath, but they think they can reclaim them. If they can just get the empath to doubt themselves again, then comes the last weapon, desperation disguised as love. They say they've changed. They understand. They cry, apologize, flood the empath with long texts, old pictures, memories, or they threaten, post suggestive photos, pretend to move on. Call the empath cold, cruel, heartless. All of it to get a reaction? Because as long as the empath reacts, the narcissist still has power. They return to say they're the one in pain, that they tried everything, that the empath destroyed them. They involve mutual friends, spread stories, post cryptic messages, call family crying, and yes, the empath feels the pain, but this time doesn't get lost in it, because now they see it all for what it is. Control. Even I love you. Even forgive me. Even you're everything to me. It's not about love. It's about power. The narcissist spirals, angry outbursts, desperate tears. They swing wildly like a child denied candy. But the empath learns something vital. You don't answer chaos with chaos. You answer with boundaries, with distance, with self. And when the empath holds that space, the narcissist realizes they lost, not the empath, the power over them. And that's the greatest loss of all. After war comes silence. Not immediate peace, but the silence that frightens. The empath finally broke free, but now the debris remains. When you've lived so long trying to survive, you forget how to simply exist. The empath feels a mix of guilt and relief, freedom and confusion, peace and loneliness. The mind still echoes, was I too much? Will they change for someone else? Am I really that hard to love? These thoughts are shadows. They don't vanish overnight. They must be faced, one by one, with patience, with compassion. And so, reconstruction begins, reconnecting with the body, breathing, walking, eating, with awareness, resting, feeling that their body belongs to them, not to fear, reconnecting with the truth, reading, writing, reclaiming the story, with facts, no filters, no fantasies, reconnecting with the self, what brought them joy before, what made them smile, who were they before trying to save someone who didn't want to be saved. The rebuild is slow, but it's beautiful, because it's not about becoming who they were. It's about becoming who they were never allowed to be. The empath gets stronger, trusts intuition, sets boundaries not with anger, but with clarity, says no without explaining, embraces silence without shame, and then something beautiful happens. They stop needing to be understood and begin to understand themselves. This is the foundation of it all, because the empath who knows who they are won't be controlled again. They no longer need to prove or rescue or shrink to be loved. And that version of the empath is the one the narcissist fears most, because it's no longer fueled by need, it's fueled by consciousness. The narcissist always thought they had control, that the empath was predictable, that one text, one tear, one reminder would reset everything. But the empath doesn't return, doesn't react, doesn't respond, and that terrifies. The narcissist doesn't fear losing the person, they fear losing control. Rejection, silence, boundaries, it all shakes their fragile self. They unravel, speak incoherently, contradict themselves, rage post, blame, play the hero or the victim. The mask, cracked already, now shatters. They spiral. They rush to replace the empath. Post joy online. Fake healing, but inside they're falling. The empath doesn't answer. And that silence is a mirror. The narcissist sees something they've always avoided, themselves. Without someone to manipulate, control, or punish, they face their own emptiness. And that inverts the game. Now it's the narcissist chasing. But the empath is no longer playing. They don't want revenge. They want peace. And the narcissist doesn't know what to do with someone who doesn't want to win, only to be free. No, screams. No applause. No revenge. The end of a cycle with a narcissist is not explosive. It's sacred silence. Internal rupture. Liberation that only an empath understands. After years of trying to save, fix, endure, the empath simply lets go. Not with hate, not with coldness, but with emotional maturity, and finally understands love was never the problem. Forgetting to love themselves was. Liberation is not an event. It's a process, a series of small no's, tiny decisions, quiet reroutes that together form a new path. The empath begins to live for themselves, not as a reaction, but as an expression of who they are, without fear, guilt, or shame. The pain left scars, but the scars no longer define, they strengthen. The empath now recognizes toxic energy, sees emotional traps, leaves cycles before they complete. They reconnect with their body, intuition, spirit, and most of all, their voice. They no longer need permission to exist, to feel, to say no, to walk away. The cycle ends. Not because the narcissist changed, but because the empath is no longer the same. And that changes everything. If you've made it this far, it's because something in you is also awakening. Maybe you're in this process. Maybe you've been silenced. Or maybe you're ready to choose yourself. Whatever part of the path you're on, know this: you are not alone. Thousands of women fight this invisible war every day, but only a few dare to end it. You are one of them. And it doesn't matter how long it took, how much you endured, how many times you forgave the unforgivable. What matters is that now you're coming back to yourself, and no one can take that from you. If this video touched your heart, like it, share it, and subscribe. You might save someone and keep saving yourself too. Share in the comments. What was your moment of awakening? When did you realize the game had to end? Let's build this healing network one voice at a time. Subscribe to the channel for more content like this. Share this with someone who needs it today, and download our free self-healing guide in the description.